Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Injured Gadgets OnePlus 1 complete teardown and reinstallation. Alright, so to go ahead and start this repair, we're going to use our iSesamo tool. We carry these on our website. If you haven't already, go ahead and remove your SIM card and SIM card tray. This one already had it removed, so we're going to just go ahead and use our iSesamo tool and kind of separate the front LCD assembly housing frame from the back door battery cover. I promise this is not as hard as it looks. The problem is I had just clipped my fingernails and it was really hurting to get my fingers in between the frame. So this really isn't as hard as it looks. Alright, with that removed, we're going to use our small tip tweezers. We carry this in one of our iFixit 54-bit kits. We partnered up with them to carry some of their toolkits. And we're going to remove this little plastic gasket that covers over one of the 00 Phillips screws. Please note there are actually 4 more little plastic gaskets covering 00 Phillips screws. The screwdriver we're going to use is actually the one in our 54-bit iFixit toolkit. And we also carry a slightly cheaper one on our website. This one right here is between $6 to $7. It's got a Phillips screwdriver, nylon spudger, pendulum screwdrivers. That's great for iPhone repairs too. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and start removing some screws. Please note there's an additional 5 screws that we're going to remove after these screws. So don't get carried away and start trying to pry off the back little clips from the frame of the phone without seeing us completely remove all these screws first. Alright, with those screws removed, we're going to go ahead and remove 4 more little gaskets covering up 4 additional 00 Phillips screws. So we're going to go ahead and remove those right now. And after that, there's an additional screw on the top right hand side covered up by a little white film. So you'll want to remove that screw as well. Alright, with those screws all removed, let's go ahead and grab our iSesamo tool and separate the clips on the top and the bottom. If the top one doesn't come loose, please note there is a little battery flex cable still kind of attached, so you will need to disconnect that. And of course the bottom one should just come loose very easily. Alright, there's me removing that little battery flex cable, and it also seemed to pop off from the board when I disconnected it. So now my battery is disconnected from the board as well. Go ahead and use a nylon spudger. I don't like to remove the battery with any metal, but we are now going to go ahead and remove the battery. I like to start from either the side or the bottom of the battery. It should lift off. Please note the right side of the battery is a ton of adhesive. It'll come off fairly easily, but once again, use plastic or the nylon spudger to kind of loosen it up. Don't break your battery. Your battery is a little malleable, but you don't want to bend it obviously to a crazy extent. Okay, go ahead and grab your nylon spudger again, and we're going to disconnect some flex cables from the board. Pretty much that right there is the Digitizer flex cable, and we will be replacing that a little bit later with an actual brand new assembly. We're going to disconnect these other 3 flex cables right here, and I disconnected the rear camera flex cable. Not necessary. I found that out later, but you don't need to disconnect it like I did. Additionally, you will need to use the little tweezers to lift off the volume as well as the power little ribbon cable. So you'll see me do that. Be very careful when doing it. You obviously don't want to break these flex cables. And lastly, there is another 00 Phillips screw right there. I tried to get it in as close as I could to show you guys what it looks like, and you will need to remove this to get the logic board away from the actual back housing of the phone. I never like to work on a logic board when I'm trying to heat up the phone, and we do have to heat up the phone to remove the LCD digitizer assembly. Alright, so right now I'm using the needle nose pliers that we used in our iFixit toolkit. I really do love these pliers. If you want, you can heat up this little flex cable a little bit, trying to loosen up the adhesive, but I just went under it with the pliers. Not pliers, excuse me, the tweezers. And of course the power button flex as well. Alright, with that removed, like I said, right here I disconnected the rear camera. Later found out not really necessary, but it does help the motherboard come out of the phone a little bit easier. And of course at the very top, this is the LCD flex cable. You need to disconnect that because we're actually going to be replacing it. And with that disconnected, we can go ahead and remove our motherboard from the actual back housing frame of the phone. And so that's what I'm doing right here. Last note is that there is one little antenna coaxial flex cable connected under the board. I did disconnect it right there. You will need to reconnect it later. Otherwise, you may not get signal, you may not get Wi-Fi. I'm not quite sure what coaxial cable that is, but I'm pretty sure it's important. So make sure to reconnect that later. And I'll of course zoom in for you guys, trying to show you guys what I'm reconnecting. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and use our heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use a blow dryer. If you don't have a blow dryer, you can buy our eye opener. We carry the eye opener on our website. I'm just showing you guys what we're going to replace right here. That's a brand new assembly. We're going to replace the Digitizer flex cable right there, the long one, and the very top is the LCD flex cable. Those are the two we're going to replace. So that gives you an idea of what you're doing before you actually do it. And this is our eye opener from iFixit. Once again, we partnered up with them. You would take this, you would put it into a microwave. It gets hot. It heats up the frame of the glass, and voila, it has come loose. I'm using a heat gun. I just don't want to go to a microwave, so I use our heat gun. If you do have a heat gun that allows you to set the temperature, I recommend anywhere from 180 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you in Europe and everywhere that's not America, I'm sorry I don't know the Celsius conversion. I'm sure you can Google it. It shouldn't take that much time. With enough heat applied, you can go ahead and use your iSesamo tool, try and break between the crease in your OnePlus One. Please note that the very top and sides of the screen is actually a frame. You don't want to remove the frame, so be careful. We're really just removing the actual glass assembly, and I'm going to try and show you guys what the frame looks like right here so that you don't break it. It's that little black border right here. I'm pointing it out. Don't break that. It's not part of your replacement screen, so we actually had a customer call us and say, hey, my OnePlus One screen it's smaller than the one that was on my phone, the one you guys sent me. And of course I asked the customer if he had broken off the black little bezel, and yes he did. So don't do that. Alright, so there our LCD assembly comes loose. Go ahead and remove any remnant glass. Please make sure you go all the way along the sides, the top, the bottom, because obviously if you put your new glass in and you have any remnant glass, you could end up cracking your brand new glass, and that would just suck. Alright, and then one thing I wanted to note out to you guys is on your original screen there is a little ear speaker mesh. You will want to pop that out and transfer it over to your brand new screen. If you don't transfer it over, you're not going to have speaker mesh in there. So make sure you transfer it over. It is a little metal piece, so it comes off pretty easily, and it goes right into the new one pretty easily. Alright. Alright, so I'm using our red tape. I kind of glimpsed it right there. I lined it up around the sides, the top, the bottom. It's pretty much a double-sided adhesive that kind of holds your new screen in place. We are going to work to get some tape templates out, but as of the time of this video, we don't have any out yet. Alright, the top flex cable is pretty explanatory, and the bottom flex cable, make sure you thread it in through the second hole as I show you right here. You don't want to thread it through that bottom first hole because it's not really supposed to go through there. So make sure you thread it through the top hole and make sure it comes all the way up to the top. You'll notice when you're reinstalling it, it's a little bit loose. Not a big deal, but it does need to go through that second hole. To be honest with you, it might be able to go through the first hole, but I noticed that when we took it apart, the original screen was through the second hole, so I did it that way. You'll want to go ahead and press your screen down, maybe put some books on it later, trying to secure the adhesive to the new frame. Alright, let's go ahead and grab our logic board. First things first, go ahead and make sure that this little antenna coaxial cable is plugged back into your actual motherboard. Like I said, if you don't plug this in, then you might not have reception, you might not have Wi-Fi. I don't know what it does, but I know it's an antenna cable, so you want to make sure you plug that in properly. It's a little tricky. I do finally get it plugged in right there, and now we can go ahead and lay our motherboard back onto the frame housing of the phone. Alright, let's go ahead and plug in all of these flex cables. And of course, push our volume and power button flex back into their corrective places. Now let's go ahead and grab our battery, put that back into its spot, and plug that flex cable in as well. Okay, you see me put the top in. I forgot to screw in that left side screw, so ignore me putting the top in because I'm going to take it right back out and I'll show you guys to put the screw in. So I'm going to kind of speed this up just to show you guys that I put the top and the bottom in, and I took the top right off and put the screw in. Okay, so this is the top removed again. I'll go ahead and grab that screw and the 00 Phillips screwdriver, screw that in, and of course put the top back on. Alright, so this is a lot of screws obviously, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit. One thing you will want to note is the 4 screws that are covered up by those little plastic gaskets, or the rubber gaskets, are of different sizes, so you don't want to mix those up obviously, because those need to go into their respective places. And then of course once I've got those in, I go ahead and put the little gaskets back on. Once that is done, go ahead and grab your backdoor battery cover, go ahead and clip that back into place, put your SIM card and SIM card tray back into the phone, go ahead and power it up, boot it up, and your phone should be good to go. Like I said, you can use a little set of books or something to put some weight down, and for any of your parts, tools, accessories, whatever it may be, please visit us at injuredgadgets.com. That's the OnePlus One.